Hi, my name is Emiliano Mazzoli. Today I'm going to talk about a pilot study exploring the effects of classroom-based active breaks on cognitive functions, sedentary time, and on-task behavior in children with intellectual disability. This is a typical classroom. Well, actually today this is a typical classroom. And this is how children typically spend their time in the classroom. There is strong evidence suggesting that physical activity contributes to a wide range of health benefits in children. Also, there is emerging evidence suggesting that sedentary behavior may have a negative impact on children's health. However, children generally engage in low levels of physical activity and high levels of sedentary behavior, especially in schools where sitting is the norm. The number of children meeting the recommended 60 minutes per day of moderate to vigorous physical activity is very low. And children with intellectual disability have even lower levels of physical activity compared to their typically developing peers. A number of classroom-based strategies to break up sitting and increase physical activity have been tested in typically developing children. These include things like active breaks, active lessons, and the use of standing desks. Such activities are feasible to implement in the classroom, they're effective in relation to increasing physical activity, reducing sedentary time, and improving some other health-related and behavioral outcomes. To the best of my knowledge, these activities have never been empirically tested in special schools for children with intellectual disability. Therefore, the aim of this study was to test the effects of a 5-week active break intervention on cognitive functions, sedentary patterns, and on-task behavior in children with intellectual disability. We recruited 24 children from 2 schools, 3 classrooms. Children were aged between 8 and 12 years. More than 1/3 of them were girls. All of them had mild to moderate intellectual disability. 2 classrooms were randomly allocated to the intervention, and 1 continued with the traditional practice. Prior to the start of the trial, all teachers assigned to the intervention attended a one-off face-to-face theoretical and practical training on how to implement the prescribed active breaks in their classrooms. They were provided with some equipment, a user manual with the description of all activities, an activity log to record their daily progress, and additional teaching progressions and adaptations they could use to facilitate learning. The intervention was carried out for 5 weeks. Teachers were asked to implement the breaks twice a day. Children's cognitive functions were assessed at baseline and end of trial. Sedentary behavior and on-task behavior were also assessed at midpoint. Measures included the following. To measure response inhibition, we used a version of the go-no-go task programmed with E'. This version requires participants to quickly press the spacebar each time they see a go trial, white circle, and to withhold their responses every time they see a no-go trial, yellow circle. The reaction time data from the go-no-go task were also used to calculate lapses of attention, which are temporary distractions. For each participant, reaction time data were fit with an exponential Gaussian distribution, which is a right skew distribution, and the exponential component was extracted and used as a measure of lapses of attention. This is the flanker's task, and is designed to measure abilities in relation to selective attention and interference. In this test, children have to select the arrow that matches the middle arrow, regardless of where the others are pointing. Also part of the NIH toolbox, this is the list sorting working memory test. This test requires participants to remember and put in size order from the smallest to the biggest a set of pictures of animals and/or foods that are presented on the screen one at a time. Sedentary patterns were measured with active pulse, small inclinometers worn on the thigh that collect information on the limb position. Data on sitting, standing, and stepping patterns can be extracted for any relevant periods. On-task behavior was systematically observed on 6 children in each classroom. For each child, the observed behavior was noted every 10 seconds as on-task or off-task. There were positive effects of the intervention on sitting and stepping. Compared to the control, the intervention group showed significant positive changes in stepping time and step counts, and significant negative changes in the time spent sitting in bouts greater than 5 minutes or greater than 20 minutes. There were no significant between-group differences in pre-post changes in cognitive performance, although working memory showed effects approaching significance in favor of the intervention. Also, there was no evidence of differences in on-task behavior between groups. Active breaks can be used in special schools to reduce sitting and may also improve working memory. These activities could be considered as part of a wider set of strategies that teachers can use in the classroom. The advantage of this approach is that it is low cost and requires minimal space to implement. Limitations of the study include the small sample size, the activities did not suit all children, and the trial relied on teachers to deliver the program as intended, and any variations in delivery may have influenced the results. Future research should consider using match control design to better account for confounders, larger samples, different disabilities and age groups, other classroom-based strategies, and also teachers training and professional development are recommended. Thank you all for listening.